Hi, Blair here with MXM, also with the Washington Fitness Alliance and works at Wenatchee Valley, our two gyms in the Wenatchee Valley. And at the Fitness Alliance level and at every Fitness Alliance level, we see, battles, people at risk states of being, re-shutting down. And of course, we're getting tired of the narrative, restaurants, bars, and gyms. We see hardware still left open and big furniture stores still left open, and we grow very frustrated. And I've heard a few governors say, including our own, well, we have to take some action. And every time we take action, I just hear people complaining and not saying, well, what should you do? So I'm going to take my shot at this. All right. So going into this with a lack of information, you've seen charts like this right here. This is from the Infectious Disease Society of America, stratifying different businesses as low risk, medium risk, and high risk. And in a video I did before, I looked at these categories, and then I looked at our outbreak data from the state of Washington. And by the way, this is their hypothesis. Fair enough. That's their hypothesis. The Texas Medical Group had a hypothesis about which businesses were high risk, which were low risk. So gyms, bars, sports arenas, restaurants all get lumped into high risk, and I'm going to show you why they're wrong. And then what we've heard is the way you reduce risk is with air quality. And air quality, what they're looking for is do things outdoors. Makes sense. And then you hear a lot about like MERV 13, right? MERV 13 filters. So I'll tell you this. If your HVAC contractor says, yep, you're good to go with MERV 13 filters, then your HVAC system is strong enough to handle MERV 13 and could probably get at least 6 turns of air per hour. At least 6 turns. Some clubs are doing a lot more. And then they said distancing, keeping people further apart. They've said contact tracing. They've said face covering. So these are the 4 things that they say is how you mitigate risk. And then what they've done is they stratify businesses. They think of them sort of this horizontal risk factor. And then I heard Governor Inslee say that we start at the top and work our way down. The data does not support that they've done that. They need to not think of these this way. They need to start thinking of them as verticals. So I'll tell you what I mean. So let's take grocery. Let's take hardware. Let's take fitness. And instead of think of them as a stratified category of which you got to wipe out one area, think of them as a vertical. This way. And then start to put the very things you're telling us that we have to be able to control for in order to reduce risk, and say, okay, if you have air quality, if you can maintain air quality by having 6 turns per hour and use MERV 13 filters and change them on a regular basis, that greatly reduces risk. If you can have distancing, depending on what people say, right, 6 to 10 feet of distancing, that greatly reduces risk. If you can contact trace, that greatly reduces. We can come back now and we can isolate the issues and kind of cordon those off, the better we can contact trace. And lastly, face coverings, if you can do face coverings. And then they should look at grocery and then hardware and fitness and look at air quality. Think of air quality the same. Think of how you can distance the same. Think of how you can control. Distancing, by the way, this is capacity. This is controlling for capacity. So epidemiologists should not be telling us which businesses are safe and which are unsafe. They should be telling us these things, the conditions for which you need to control to make your business more safe. So what I would contend is if you have check-in system, let's check that box over here for contact tracing. I have a check-in system. I can also assure distancing better because I can control for capacity, let's say 25% right now or whatever. So I have better controls for capacity. I have better controls for contact tracing. I have high air quality, and I can have face coverings. Now, if you looked at every category that you've currently stratified as that one's high risk, let's throw the switch on it and shut it off. Like, instead of treating it like a switch and you treated it more like a rheostat. Well, look, if you can only get 5 turns and only MERV 11, then perhaps you're at 15% capacity. I don't know. Look, I'm not a scientist. I'm a gym owner and a tech company owner. I'm not a scientist, but this model would allow for so much more innovation. So think about the vendors, the people, the suppliers that supply these types of verticals. And they said, oh my God, you can't open unless what? Unless we can get this many turns, MERV 13, unless you knew who was in there. What kind of technology? This just allows for so much more innovation and intelligence to say, how do we keep our vertical open? How you keep it open is by making it more safe. And now what you have is you have people kind of compressing towards the top here of getting everything done that you were trying to get done in the first place, instead of disincentivizing things by completely shutting off entire verticals because you think of them as horizontal strata from hypotheses like this that are not proving out. Because I'll tell you, if I put arenas up here, and if CenturyLink Field where the Seahawks play, which is open air, if you're calling it high risk, and you call it high risk, if it's open air and it's at 25% capacity and people are spaced out, no, you're wrong. That's low risk. They know who's coming in. They know what seat they're going to be in. And theaters, come on, theaters and bowling alleys, they can control for all of these things. But here's what we hear. There's no way for us to inspect that. There's no way for us to do all this. Not at the state level, there isn't. The local departments of health that have been begging for more localized control, certainly in our state, possibly in other states. Local control, local inspection. We have spoken to our Department of Health. They would love to come in, and we'd love to have them come in and inspect. Our state required a manual, a COVID-19 manual. We have a great COVID-19 manual. No one's ever wanted to look at it. We've pushed it out to people. Please look at this. It didn't matter. It doesn't matter. So this is the approach. So there's my answer. That's what my approach would be to managing this in a way that would have, I believe, less outbreak and more businesses open and more innovation happening.